My first job was in 1978 at the age of 15 years of age, just turned 15, as a baker's assistant. And I learnt a lot that summer. First thing was I earned £15 a week. Can you imagine? And you know what? I was such a mummy's boy, I used to give it to my mammy. I just used to give it to my mammy. She would take it. Well, I suppose it was payback time. And I'd nip home sometimes for lunch, and I was so proud of the baker's hat. I had the little baker's hat. You know, this was me and uniforms and dressing up and all that kind of stuff. That was always me. Fucking paper, like baker's hat. What a dick. And I learnt a lot that summer about people and about music and what have you. Like, if I could just describe the setup for you. So there was this guy, quite rotund, in middle age to late middle age. I don't know what he was, but as the local baker back then, before you were vying with all the big public companies as such, you know, you had it made. And so he had this big Jaguar car or Mercedes, and it seemed to be changed regularly, and he would be smoking these cigars. I think they were called Picures, because he'd say to me, "Mark, run across the shop, get me a Picure." And he was, as I said, he was quite rotund. However, his wife was even worse. Now, I don't give a shit about all this. Oh, don't be the fattest and all the rest of it. Listen, I have battled freaking weight all my years. I'm just relating what it was. So fucking snowflakes, take a hike. So she was like elephantitis. And it was actually a disease I think she had. She had legs like tree trunks and a waist like the equator and a head like a bowling ball. With more chins than a Chinese telephone directory. Fat is the word. And she was big and fat and what's that word when you don't get out much, like I suffer from? Anyway, sedentary. And there was a toilet, but guess what? It was almost in the centre of this little bakery. It was like, I don't know how it was, but you could walk around it. So she would disappear in there every so often. And the toilet would probably disappear up her arse, because I said she really, 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 really was that big. And she'd go in with a newspaper, and God knows what she got up to in there. I can imagine she just sat on her big elephantitis legs and read the paper, and then she would come out. Now, bear in mind, health and safety. Right, toilet in the middle of... So, I was quite a callow little boy from a middle-class family in amongst all these kind of riff-raff who, I'm not judging them because they weren't the most educated. They could barely spell cat. Not the owners, the fellow workers. One, I don't mind naming him. His name was Dave. He was tallish. He was loudmouth. Used to give me a really fucking hard time. And this is good character building for people. I always say I even say to my own kids, I say it's really good to be humbled at times. And if you haven't been humbled, you know, and everything's been laid out before you, you actually suffer as a human being, because I think it's good character building stuff to get a rough time verbally, if not physically. Physically, oh yeah, a great one was to lock young Mark in the oven. We had walk-in ovens. All right. So every so often I'd have to go in to do something, and the big joke was to lock me in and threaten to put on the heat. So is it any wonder? So that used to happen a lot. And there was a guy, and he used to say to me, "Dems is not the ones for boons. Don't put them on those trays." On those trays. It's like Spanish. But you know what? The funny thing was, despite what I'm saying, I actually kind of liked them. I liked them. There was a kind of rough and tumble camaraderie. I just kind of... Look, it went with the territory. You know, I was in my little... Was I in the FCA back then, like our territorials? So I was used to being shouted at and being treated like shit. That might have even been before that time. That was to come later. Humbling, anyway, was good for people. So, yeah. The other thing about that guy, I can't remember his name, the good just don't like that all the time, was he was big into the Boomtown Rats. Really, they were just beginning to happen around 1978. So every Boomtown Rat song he knew. I also remember he was kind of into Kung Fu. and he would throw himself. I mean, literally, there's rafters up here. I mean, he would have a good shot at hitting the rafters at times in the place we worked. Yeah, yeah, I know. Do you want to hear the next thing? Well, one day, well, I do remember a few injuries back then. There was a thing that would cut the cling film, right? And it was like something out of James Bond. It was a wire stretched, and it was I don't know, it was electrified or what, but it was red hot, and it was red hot. That's what it was, a red hot wire. And then when you'd be putting the cling film over to cut it, you do that rather than some kind of serrated iron thing they have now. This was, I don't know what it was, but if you missed it, you got your hand burnt. That used to happen. And finally, the final indignity was one day we had this huge vat of dough, and I was chopping away at it, and I cut myself, and the blood went into the dough. And I went, oh, Jesus, sorry, lads, listen, we'll cut that out. Cut the bloodied bit out. You know what, guys? Fuck off. We haven't got time for that. Leave it. So, somewhere in 1978, somebody ended up roaming in me hemoglobin, or at least consuming it.